Hi, I'm Miriam, also known as Mim, and today I want to show you how to fix a missing yarn over. So sometimes if you're knitting a shawl or something, you end up with dropping a yarn over off of the needle accidentally as you're working a backside row, or sometimes you end up just forgetting to do the yarn over. Yarn overs are a little bit tricky. Sometimes they swap on either side of a stitch marker, so there's lots of reasons you might be missing a yarn over, but let me show you how to fix it. So first we have to identify where our yarn over is missing from. And this one you can see that we've got yarn over, yarn over, yarn over, yarn over. Basically every other row we've got a yarn over, and we don't have one here. So this last set of rows doesn't have a yarn over. So what we need to do is to slip our stitches to there. So we could slip them in this direction, but if we're pretending that this is an entire shawl, you really don't want to do it that way. So one of the benefits of working on a circular needle is that you can just slip it to the other side. And so here it's closer, and we can just slip these stitches to get to where we need to be. And you can see that this is where our yarn over should have been, because we have a 3-stitch edge here. So, but we worked a row after the yarn over, so what we need to do is, skipping this one, we're going to grab the next float down, which is this one. So now we've got this loop, but we need to also mimic the row after. So I'm going to take this loop and pull the float above it through it without twisting so that everything's open. And I'm going to put it onto my left-hand needle, and now our yarn overs are the same. So we've fixed the missing yarn over. So you'll notice that this is tighter. If you're following along with your own swatches, you'll notice that the stitches on this side are tighter than the other stitches. That's because when we made this yarn over from scratch, from out of nothing, out of that little float, we stole yarn from all of the stitches around it. And when you're working with stockinette like this, it's really pretty easy to see where your yarn over is. Most of the time, if you're missing a yarn over, it's usually, like on a shawl, it's usually one of these shaping yarn overs, one of these yarn overs at the edge, because it's really easy as you're working a pearl row to accidentally drop it off, or to get it on the other side of a stitch marker, or something like that, and then you think, oh, what's this, and you drop it off. So it's really easy to miss a yarn over. It's really easy to accidentally lose it. But what happens when you're not working in stockinette like this? What happens when you have a lace pattern? That's when we get to this swatch. So we've got our horseshoe lace swatch here, and the first thing you need to do is figure out where you're missing your yarn over. So take a look at it, and you can see we've got matching yarn overs here and here and here, but only one here. So it should have the decrease in the center, 1 stitch on each side, and then a yarn over. And you can see we're missing the yarn over on this side. Should be right about there. So we know where it needs to be, so we're going to get to that point. So I'm just moving my stitches, slipping them as if to purl so that I don't change their orientation, till I get to the point where my yarn over should have been. Should have been right here to stack properly. So what I'm going to do is look at the other yarn overs first, and you can see that I've worked 1 row since that yarn over should have been made. So we're going to skip this float, because that float is from the row where I would have just purled the yarn over, and we're going to grab the next float down, which is a little hard to see. So if you stretch it out, you can see here's our float from the row after, and that's the bit of yarn that should have been a yarn over. So I'm going to grab that bit of yarn and pull up a loop, oops, where you gotta be careful. Okay, so I pulled up this loop. Now I need to mimic the row after it. So what I'm gonna do, make sure I don't twist this loop, but I'm gonna pull that float that was above it through the loop. That mimics the row that happened after the yarn over. Now, something you will notice here is that all the stitches around it are tighter. So what we did was, to make that yarn over, we stole yarn from all the stitches around it. That's what makes everything else tighter. So like, it'll help when you're redoing these to work on the tips of your needles, but everything's gonna be tighter. If you've lost a yarn over and you're trying to make it up, it's gonna be snug. So, but now we've got all of our yarn overs in place. Everything is symmetrical, so we've fixed that. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please consider hitting the subscribe button, and you can catch me live on Twitch at Mim is Making. Go forth and make.